I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. While citing the White House's pledge to accept up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees, Congresswoman Cori Bush asked Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas about Title 42. Customs and Border Protection authorities have reportedly been instructed to consider exempting Ukrainians from the Trump-era policy. Here's more from the Missouri Democrat.
I yield back.
Gentlelady yields back, Ms. Bush.
Thank you. St. Louis, and I thank you, Secretary Mayorkas, for being here with us today. As a country, we have been unified in our response to the crisis in Ukraine. Your department, Secretary Mayorkas, recently unveiled a plan to accelerate admissions from Ukraine with a goal of admitting up to 100,000 Ukrainian refugees. We know that we have a legal and a moral obligation to welcome those fleeing persecution, wars, and famine. Does the department consider the conditions in the home country of the individual who crosses when assessing for the use of Title 42? For example, is this why Ukrainian nationals coming through our southern border are currently exempt from Title 42?
Congresswoman, we have built pathways, safe, orderly, and humane pathways for the Ukrainian individuals seeking relief to access the United States. The humanitarian parole program that we have termed Uniting for Ukraine, the refugee process for which we have deployed our personnel overseas, and of course, the visa programs that the Department of State traditionally and historically has administered. As a category of individuals, Ukrainians are not necessarily exempt from Title 42. We provide individualized exemptions depending on acute vulnerabilities, claims under the Convention Against Torture. But what we are really doing is implementing safe and orderly pathways so that individuals do not travel to Mexico with the intent of crossing through a port of entry and into the United States. That is not the safest way to proceed, and that is precisely one of the reasons, just one of the reasons, why we implemented the measures that I have described, to build an orderly and safe way to provide humanitarian relief in the proudest traditions of this country.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Secretary. Last year, DHS designated Haiti for temporary protected status to Haiti. In making that decision, DHS noted that Haiti is grappling with a deteriorating political crisis, violence, and a staggering increase in human rights abuses. Haiti faces the challenges of rising food insecurity and malnutrition, waterborne disease epidemics. Similar conditions exist for Cameroon, which was finally granted TPS status last week. Given this, can you explain why Haitian, Cameroonian, and others fleeing poverty, violence, and war are not exempt from Title 42?
Congresswoman, our experts, not only in U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, but also in the Department of State, review country conditions to determine which countries are eligible for temporary protected status based on the statutory criteria that are set forth. And you correctly note that we reviewed the country conditions last year in Haiti and granted temporary protected status for individuals already resident in the United States from Haiti. We actually, in light of the tragic assassination of the Haitian president last year, extended the period. We have not made a determination that, in fact, a further designation of Haiti is warranted under the statutory criteria. And therefore, we have not extended temporary protected status beyond that which we granted last year. You correctly note as well that our review of the country conditions in Cameroon led us to grant temporary protected status to Cameroonians. Our experts review country conditions against the statutory criteria, the statutory program, and we exercise our discretion accordingly.
Thank you. Reclaiming my time. Earlier this year, I led 100 members of Congress in sending a letter to the administration requesting a departmental review of our immigration system and the disparate treatment of Black migrants. Yes or no, Secretary? Are you aware of the disparate treatment of Black migrants at the border?
I would respectfully disagree with that assertion. One of our core principles is equal application of the law in a non-discriminatory manner. I think our designation of temporary protected status for Haitian nationals resident in the United States last year, our recent declaration of...
Reclaiming my time, I have another question. Has the department ever conducted a review of disparate treatment of Black migrants?
The gentlelady's time has expired. The witness may answer the question.
I'm sorry, if the question could be repeated, I didn't quite catch it. I apologize, Mr. Chairman.
That's fine. That's fine. Has the department ever conducted a review of disparate treatment of Black migrants?
We have, Congresswoman, a statutorily created Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties. I will consult with that office to see whether our department has ever conducted such a review, and we will be back in touch with your office.
The time of the gentlelady has expired.